वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's seventh session of our series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. Today is the first day of Gregorian calendar. Some of you must have celebrated the New Year's Eve. Hope you are fresh and alert for today's Gita verses. Today, verses 45 to 53 shall be presented by Dr. Anupama, Srimati Chetana, Srimati Indumati Venkat, and our Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir. We shall commence with a brief introduction to the topics of the day by Dr. Timmappa Hegde. Timmappa Hegde sir, please.
Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. In today's class, we will see some of the most beautiful verses of Karma Yoga from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which are the seed verses for the third chapter and the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. As part of the introduction, I would like to share this idea: can we shift from karma to karma yoga? Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita in the third chapter said, it is impossible to be even for 1 second without doing some action or the other. Even now, I am speaking, you are listening, and all of us are doing some form of karma every moment. In today's class, in today's introduction, we would like to see how can we make a shift from karma to karma yoga. So in that context, let us see what is karma. Karma is both action and the consequence of action. What you sow is what you reap. And therefore, let us be very conscious of the choices that we make, both in our thought, in our words, and in our deeds. The law of karma means the consequences of that action. Every action that we do can produce two forms of results, either visible or drishta, or invisible or adrishta. And depending upon the kind of work, if it is a good deed as per the Shastras, it produces punya, and thereby we reap happiness. If it is a bad deed, it gives us papam or sorrow. And these are the consequences of action. We also know that because we have lived a number of lives, we have some amount of karma from each of our lives which have not been utilized in that life, which is stored in our terms, like in our cloud data. The accumulated karma is called the Sanchita karma. In that Sanchita account, there is tremendous amount of punya and tremendous amount of papa. Now, the karma pala data or Ishvara decides when a jiva is born, that each time a child is born with a certain amount of punya and papa, and that amount of karma that we use for this particular life is called our prarabdha karma. And our prarabdha karma decides our lifespan. It decides our kind of body we have, the kind of families we have, the kind of happiness and sadness that we go through. In each of our lives, every day we do additional karma. And this karma that we do is called the agami karma. Sometimes we see what is called instant karma. The moment I do a good deed, there is an immediate reward or a punishment depending upon. But sometimes it may not be immediate. It could be later in my life. Sometimes it could be in some future life. And therefore, that which is not utilized goes back to that accumulated past karma is called the Sanchita karma. About this, we know why I am insisting or introducing the law of karma. Let us be very careful about every action that we do. The law of karma gives us the answer why there is so much of disparity. And mainly for ourselves, that is, let me not blame anybody for the situation in my life. I take responsibility. When I take responsibility, what happens? I also know that my future is dependent on my present action. My today will decide my tomorrow. I therefore,
don't look another one. What? I know I won't do it.
I therefore will avoid fatalism and I will accept my free will. This is something important for all of us to know. The Vedas, the Upanishads tell us all of us are caught in what is called a knot in our heart or the Hridaya Granthi. The basic problem of the Hridaya Granthi is avidya or ignorance of my true nature. Although we are already that, although that we have the nature of Parabrahma, Paramatma, and we are Purnamidam, Purnamadam, Purnamidam, we are full in every dimension. That fact I do not know. And because I identify with my body and mind, and because I experience so much of limitations, a thought arises in our minds, and that thought is called karma. That means I wish I could have this or I wish I could have that. And once a thought arises, it is not possible to keep quiet. We have to do something. Again, the consequence of karma is punya or papa. And that results in, because it cannot be utilized in this life, it results in punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Bhagwan Ramana in the Upadesha Sara gives us a certain warning about karma. He summarizes all that I have told like this. Kriti Mahododo. Kriti means karma. I'm making a clear distinction between karma and karma yoga. Kriti means karma. Is like an ocean. Because work will go on and on. Patana karanam. That means it is the cause of my downfall. Palam asashvatam. Whatever I get is only finite, and gati nirodhakam. It will block my spiritual progress. Why? Because of the same reason. Avidya, kama, karma, punya, papa, punarjanma. Now, therefore, from now we shift gears. I know that every moment I will be doing karma. Can I shift from karma to karma yoga? Bhagwan Ramana, in the third verse of the Upadesha Sara, gives a very crisp definition of karma yoga. Ishvara arpitam. Whatever I do shall be as an offering to God. Na ichchaya kritam. Don't crave for a particular outcome of your actions. And if you are able to do your actions with this attitude, chitta shodakam, my body mind now becomes ready for jnanam, and therefore it paves the way for mukti sadhakam. Very quickly, although we have studied this so many times, I'm going to focus on from now, every karma that I do will now become a yoga by shifting my attitude. Instead of treating it as work, I treat it as worship. I treat it as a sadhana. All my actions can be done either in my body, it's called kayika, on my speech, vachasa, or in my thought or manasa. So karma can happen in my thoughts also. Karma can happen in my speech. So therefore, every activity of my thoughts, every activity of my words, of course, every activity of my body now becomes a yoga. How does it become a yoga? Let it be selfless in its outlook. That means I do more sattvic activity, less rajasic, less, and avoid tamasic. Every action becomes a sadhana. Sometimes quite a lot of our time is spent in taking care of yourself. We will use one word called Atma Puja. The word Atma has many meanings. One meaning is myself. That is, whenever I take care of myself, it could be giving my body a bath, wearing clothes, taking rest, eating can be treated as an Atma Puja. And therefore, every action in thought, word, and deed now becomes a sadhana, now becomes sublime. Now, the attitude is Ishvara Arpana. And whenever I'm doing something for God, how will I do it? I will give my very best. I will give my 100%. I will enjoy what I will do it. And when I enjoy any activity, it is going to be relatively effortless. And because I enjoy it, there is no sense of time. The joy is intrinsic. And I'm not doing a favor to anybody. I clearly realize it is my need. Normally, whenever we do work, we are conscious about the time taken and what do I get out of it. In Karma Yoga, we are not having a business attitude. We will do certain forms of activities. Karma Yoga is identical to Pancha Mahayajna. And in Pancha Mahayajna, there is no immediate benefit. There is no material benefit. We all know Pancha Mahayajna is Deva Yajna, the time spent in puja and worship, the time spent in whatever we are doing right now in spiritual studies, the time spent in the service of our parents and elders, the time spent in going an extra mile to help somebody, and the time spent in the care of plants, animals, and our environment. All this constitutes Pancha Mahayajna, and Swamiji says this is something that we need to do every day. The third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we are going to go next, will give us a certain hierarchy of how Karma Yoga initially should be like an Agnya. I must do it. And thereafter, I realize how grateful I am for all my blessings. So every activity now becomes an offering, a yajna. Now, because it is a sadhana, I know that through Karma Yoga, my instruments become more refined and I get jnana yogyata. Karma should also be seen as dharma. That means if I don't do it, the whole cycle of my work gets affected. So each one of us are responsible for doing whatever I am supposed to do. What are the benefits of making this karma into a yoga? There is inner growth irrespective whether there is material gain or not. It is like when you win, you win. When you lose, you learn, and therefore you win. In every action, there is, whether I succeed in that activity or not, there is an inner material growth, an inner spiritual growth. And what is that spiritual growth? Jnana yogyata. There are 4 Ds, of which Viveka, Vairagya, and Mumukshutvam becomes possible because of Karma Yoga. Later on, I'm able to prioritize. In this talk, you will see in today's verses, you will see we have to make a shift from Artha Kama to Dharma Moksha. And this becomes easy for a Karma Yogi. By doing Karma, I will develop a certain competence. And what is the competence? I will realize that just the desire alone will not do. I will need a certain amount of competence. I will need a sufficient punyam, a conducive environment to find a guru, to be able to make use of the guru's presence and to progress in my evolution. When Karma Yoga is done for a certain period of time, there is a shift, what we see from the 3rd chapter to the 4th chapter, what we call Jnana Karma Sannyasa. Suddenly I realize that it is not in doing, but there is something called non-doing. How does a person come to non-doing? Scriptures declare, I am already that. Tat tvam asi. And if jnanam enters us, we realize by true nature, I am limitless. And then you realize, Atma Ratihi, Atma Triptaha, Atmanevatmana, Atmani evascha santushta. I revel in myself. Such a person has no binding desires. And you realize, I don't have to prove anything to anybody. Now work becomes so totally different. We have seen this in Tripti Deepa. Atmanam ched vijaniya ayam asmiti purushaha. Once I know my true nature, kimichan kasya kamaya. There is nobody who desires and there is nobody who needs any fulfillment. Shariram anusam jvaret. I am not therefore compelled to work. In today's class, we will see these 2 beautiful verses, which are the seed for the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Buddhi Yukto, and which brings about what is called inaction in action. I now see myself not as a witness and not the body-mind complex. I suddenly see the beauty in inactivity. That means less is more, less of thoughts, less of words, and less of actions. You will realize the beauty in doing less and accomplishing more. And the pinnacle of inaction and action is do nothing, accomplish everything. The great jump is there is no doer, there is no effort, there is no punya or papa, there is no bondage due to karma. And this is beautifully brought out in the Charama Shloka, which I will discuss when we come to it in the course of the presentation. So in conclusion, what have we seen? In this introduction, I have encouraged all of us that every moment we do some karma, can we convert our karma to a yoga? And the formula is act, accept, gain, give up. Act what? Act out of a sense of no doership. There is nobody who's doing anything. I become a facilitator. I allow things to happen. I accept whatever comes from my karma as a prasada. And in the process, I gain the qualifications for jnanam. I give up the wrong notion that I'm a limited person, and I am liberated. Our opening speaker will be Dr. Anupama, verse 45. Dr. Anupama, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto Nir-Yogakshema Atmavan. Krishna says, a karma yogi who uses the karma kanda of the Vedas for chitta shuddhi should know Traigunya Vishaya Veda. This means he should know that the part of the Veda Purva dealing with the Kamya karmas and Prayaschita karmas are not useful for Chitta Shuddhi. It is the Nitya Naimittika karmas alone that are relevant. In these verses, Krishna criticizes Kamya karmas because they only perpetuate samsara. How do Nitya Naimittika karmas liberate us from samsara? They give us Chitta Shuddhi, Guru Prapti, and Jnana Prapti. From this, we should infer that we should work for success and never pray for success. We should pray for mental strength to accept any result. What is the meaning of the word Traigunya Vishaya? Adi Shankaracharya says it means samsara, the product of three gunas, Trayanam Gunanam Karyam. What is it that nurtures samsara? Only the kamya and prayaschita karmas, the artha and artharthi bhakti. Nishtraigunyo bhavarjuna. Be different from those avipaschitaha, meaning the unintelligent people who pursue traigunya vishaya. That means nish kamo bhava. Give up kamya and prayaschita karmas. Nirdvandva bhavaha. Dvandva means pairs of opposites, like heat, cold, success, failure, samyoga, viyoga, etc. And what are these? They are sukha, dukkha, hetus. So nirdvandva bhava means transcend, or at least enjoy samatvam in all the pairs of opposites. Pray for manojaya, not lokajaya. Nitya sattvastha bhava. Increase your sattva guna or mental strength. That means become sattva guna predominant. It is because of this phrase, Nitya Sattvastha Bhava, that Nishtraigunyo Bhava, which actually means transcend three gunas or become Nirguna Brahma, has been interpreted as has been given a different interpretation, because we don't want to contradict the present phrase Nitya Sattvastha Bhava, which means you may have Sattva Guna. Krishna cannot be saying have Sattva Guna and also become Nirguna simultaneously. So Nishtraigunyam bhava has to be understood as nishkamo bhava, and nitya sattvastva bhava is translated as sattva guna bhava. Niryoga kshema bhava. Here yoga means apraptasya prapti and kshema means praptasya rakshana. That means we have to reduce acquisition and preservation of things. Krishna says reduce, not give up. Port meaning possessions, obligations, relationships and transactions, because indulgence in these causes preoccupation of the mind, and so pursuit of Vedanta becomes impossible. Atmavan bhava means apramattaha bhava. Be mindful, be careful. Atma here means mind. Atmavan bhava means make your mind available for spirituality. In conclusion, this verse means give up kamya and prayaschita karmas, continue nitya naimittika karmas, meaning the pancha mahayajnas, follow swadharma, and pray for sadhana chatushtaya sampatti through nitya naimittika karmas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for an excellent explanation of one of those most beautiful verses. Now you will see in this section of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, each verse is so beautiful. Traigunyo Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. And through Arjuna, Shri Krishna is telling all of us, can you move from the karma kanda which deals with rituals and pujas, because it will perpetuate samsara. Exactly what I told you in the introduction. Can we shift from karma? Can we shift from karma to karma yoga? So what we have to do is drop artha and artharthi bhakti. And so as was nicely explained, nistraigunyo bhava is equal to nishkamo bhava. Then there is nirdvanda. What is dvanda? These are the pairs of opposites. Mana, apamana, labha, nashta, jaya, apajaya. That means I should insulate myself to the extent possible through samatvam, which will come again and again in this. Nitya sattvasto bhava. Maintain sattva guna. Here it means be a viveki. Have that discriminating ability. Niryoga kshema. Let us not be too worried about what's going to happen into the future, what will happen about my survival. A bhakta knows that Bhagavan is there to take care of me, and this should not be a headache for any student of Vedanta, that I trust Bhagavan and I also trust in my ability to handle whatever I have to handle, and in the process be Atmavan, be alert and never be mechanical in our life. The Chaitanya will explain the most popular verse 47. Chaitanya, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturvur ma te sangastva akarmani. After giving the benefits of Karma Yoga, Krishna here gives us the principles of Karma Yoga. He says, Te karmani eva adhikara asti. You have a choice over your action alone. Through this line, Lord Krishna points out that we all have a free will. We have the capacity to think, we have the discriminative power and the capacity to act. So with this, we can accomplish many things. And therefore, you have a choice over your actions. But at the same time, he says, Phaleshu kadachana ma adhikara. But with regard to karma phalam, you do not have a choice. Now, Adi Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam says the word adhikara has two meanings. So when Krishna says, Te karmani eva adhikara, here adhikara means your fitness or yogyata or qualification. So you have the qualification only to practice karma yoga and not jnana yoga yet. And when he says, Phaleshu kadachana ma adhikara, Shankaracharya says this adhikara has a different meaning. Here it means desire or trishna. So you should not desire for the results of your action. Therefore, use your fullest choice before you take any course of action, but at the same time, be intelligent and strong enough to accept the results. Now, what is Sri Krishna trying to convey here? Lord Krishna is pointing out that we have a free will, which is unique to human beings, because of which the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha are possible. That is why in Sanskrit, the word Purushartha has two meanings. One is free will and the other is human goals. A goal is possible only if there is free will. Since free will and goals are interconnected, here only one word is used, Purushartha. And since we have no choice regarding karma phalam, does it mean our efforts are useless? No, just because karma phalam is not under our control, it does not mean that our efforts are useless, as our efforts do contribute to determine the end results. We should keep in mind that Krishna does not say we have zero choice. We do have a choice, but only as a contributory factor with regard to the result of our actions. Like tilling the land, sowing the seed, are contributory factors in producing the crop. But there are many other factors beyond our control, like bad weather, which can affect the final outcome. So our life is a mixture of fate and free will. Therefore, this mental preparedness to receive any result should be the intelligent attitude, called prasada buddhi. Then Krishna continues, Ma bhu karma phala hetuhu. May you not be motivated by the results of your actions. May your motive not be dependent on the external results, which is going to be unpredictable. May your motive not be for material gain. At the same time, mate sangostva akarmani. May you not have sangha akarmani, an inclination towards inaction. Then what should be the focus? The focus should be the very action, the very experience that you're going to get. Ishvara Arpana Bhava. Therefore, Arjuna, do not run away from your responsibility. At the same time, focus on inner growth, not your external. So in conclusion, to be a karma yogi, I should have a healthy attitude towards both karma and karma phala. And for that healthy attitude, I should have a proper understanding of both, because attitude depends upon my understanding. That's why Swamiji says, without a cognitive change, an attitudinal change is impossible. And cognitive change means a change in our understanding. So what are the principles of karma yoga given here? Ishvara Arpana Bhava. Do all your actions to the best of your ability as an offering to the Lord. Have no special prayers. Ishvara Prasada Bhava. Be intelligent and strong enough to accept any result. Perform your duty without asking for material punyam. And then what happens? Our spiritual punyam will automatically increase. Finally, how do I know I am successful in karma yoga? Mental equanimity is the litmus test. And how do I know that? Through reduction of FIR principle. And as the FIR comes down, the triple C increases in both externally and internally. Triple C is calmness of mind, cheerfulness in my personality, and courage in confronting life. This is samatvam. Therefore, samatvam is the test to know whether I am following these principles of karma yoga. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chaitanya. Both you and Anupama nicely explained based on the Moolam and also on the Bhashyam of Adi Shankaracharya. Although it has been very well explained, I want to mention about the 3 warnings in any action. And that is what this particular verse has brought out very clearly. We have a choice about what we do, both thought, word, and deed. But we don't have much of a say as far as the results are concerned, because it is multifactorial. Let us not be motivated, let not the driving force be the results of our action. And because the results might be a failure, let me not run away from my duties. And that was beautifully brought out in this particular verse. Verse 48 will be explained to us by Indumati. Indu ji, please.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the previous shloka, we saw that Lord Krishna says, to work alone you have the right and never to its fruits. At the same time, don't be tempted to withdraw from doing the work. If work impelled by the desire for its fruits is not to be performed, how should it then be performed? Listen, the shloka says, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samubhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Yogastaha, abiding in yoga, yogastaha san kuru karmani kevalam ishwararthaha tyaktva sangam, giving up attachment, bhutva samaha, remaining the same in siddhya siddhyo, success and failure, siddhya cha asiddhyo api samaha tulyaha bhutva kuru karmani. Kuru karmani, perform actions, samatyam uchyate, samatvam uchyate yogaha. Such equanimity is called yoga. Next slide, we see giving up attachment and established in yoga with evenness of mind, in success and failure, perform your work, O Arjuna. This evenness or equanimity is called yoga. From this shloka onwards, we have an exhaustive discussion on the technique of karma yoga as conceived by Lord Krishna in his doctrine of action. Evenness of mind, the tranquility of mental composure in facing all pairs of opposites is defined here as yoga. Krishna tells once again Arjuna, established in yoga, do your work, O Arjuna, just for the sake of God. Let them be evenness of mind when you do your work, both in success and in failure. This shloka advises us that desireless action can be performed only when one gets completely established in yoga. In the next slide, we have the term attachment here means all factors against which Lord Krishna has already warned us in the earlier stanzas and has insisted that we must renounce them all, like wrong imaginations, false expectations, daydreams about the fruits of actions, anxieties for the results, and fears for future calamities that have not yet appeared to threaten our lives. But all the above mentioned nerve-wracking mistakes belong to the delusory ego center. When we analyze closely the stuff of which the ego is made up of, we can easily find out that it is a bundle consisting the memories of the past and hopes and expectations for the future. In the next slide, we see that established thus in equanimity, renouncing all of the egocentric attachments, forgetting to worry over the results of success or failure in the activities, at dawn, says Lord Krishna to Arjuna, and adds that the great yoga means work thus with equipoise in all situations. We have a saying in Kannada, ದುಡಿದು ದುಡಿಯದವನಂತೆ ಬೆವರಿದರೂ ಆಯಾಸವಿಲ್ಲದವನಂತೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಚಿತ್ತದಿಂದ ಇರುವುದೇ ಯೋಗ. Simple Subhashitam says, Sampatau cha vipatau cha mahatanek rupata udayo savita raktaha raktacha astamaye thata. In prosperity and in diversity, the great people enjoy mental balance. Like what? Udaya savita raktaha. When the sun is rising, its color is raktaha. And when the sun is about to set also, its color is raktaha. Often when you get a picture of the sun, you will not know whether it is a rising sun or a setting sun. Be like the sun, ups and downs will come. Value the learning that you have. And therefore, samatvam yoga uchyate. The main indication of a karma yogi is mental balance. Therefore, Arjuna, be mentally balanced. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Be equanimous both in success and in failure by enjoying the appropriate attitude towards them. So, siddhihi means success, asiddhihi means failure. This towards both maintain equanimity because the definition of karma yoga is samatvam yoga uchyate. It is not any particular action, but it is a particular state of mind that is called karma yoga. Therefore, Arjuna, you be a karma yogi, says the Lord. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Induji, for another very clear and a lucid presentation of another very useful verse, which all the yoga schools prominently declare, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. And if you will see again and again in the Bhagavad Gita, you will have so many verses which emphasize on Samatvam. A karma yogi values inner growth more than external accomplishment. As I mentioned in the introduction, how to be a winner always. When you win, you win. When you lose, you learn. And therefore you win. And here, what is that? Even whatever happens externally, if you are a karma yogi, then what happens? You will get chitta shuddhi and jnana yogyata. So samatvam means mental poise in success or failure. So this verse tells us again, shift from material to spiritual attachment. Spiritual attachment is okay. There is verse 38 is a very similar verse. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labho jaya jayo tato yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. With that, we come to verse 50. Now, I firmly believe that this verse is the seed verse for the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It goes like this: Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrute dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yogaha karmasu kaushalam. We have seen in the introduction already how there are so many limitations of karma. And the main limitation is karma is a product of avidya. Avidya leads to kama and karma, punarjanma, and Bhagavan has spoken about kriti mahodada upatana karanam. And therefore, another emphasis now is, can we shift consciously from karma to karma yoga? Explaining each words, buddhi yuktaha. That means anchored in spiritual wisdom. That means you have shifted from being a karmi to a karma yogi. Jahati, ube, you give up both. What? Sukrute, dushkrute. That means consciously now when I'm doing any karma, I give up both punya and papa. How do we give up? Tasmad, therefore, yujyasva, prepare, yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Now, what is this skill in action? I will explain to it right away. The skill in action, see, whenever we do a work repeatedly, we develop a certain amount of skill. Is that the skill that we are talking, that you are a good yogi or a good surgeon or a good musician or a good player because you have done that action so many times? Certainly not. Here, it is a shift from being a karmi to a karma yogi. Whenever I do any actions, an action will produce punya or papa. But now I know I'm not doing any more actions for punya or papa. I want that skill of being able to do an action without incurring any punya or papa. All of us have got clearly defined roles. And whatever I have to do, let me do it like a facilitator. There is no sense of I am doing it. It has to be done. Allow my body, mind to do it. And once you train yourself, you will realize that really there is nothing much to do. You don't have to think much. You don't have to speak much. You don't have to do much. You learn the law of least effort. You do less and you will be able to accomplish more. This is a great skill. And the great skill is to be able to convert the poison into nectar. For example, even from snake poison, like from the viper, which is one of the most poisonous snakes, you will be able to get many medicinal products, which is a big industry in the treatment of high blood pressure and which comes from the viper's venom. There is this most beautiful and one of the most difficult sutras of Gautama Buddha. Reflect on this because this is the same as this particular verse. My doctrine or my Dhamma is to think the thought that is unthinkable. Can you think of any thought that is unthinkable? The only thought that is unthinkable is no thought. Can you be, as you are listening to me, experience a state of no thoughts? To practice a deed that is not doing. That means there is no sense of doership. Again, it's just a word. What is no sense of doership? Allow it to happen. Don't make a big thing that I am doing it. Let the ego have no place in doing your action. To speak that which cannot be expressed. The only speech that cannot be expressed is to be able to express in silence. That is why Omkara is considered to be the sound of silence. And to be trained in a discipline which is beyond a discipline. Normally, discipline is guided by our conscience. Here, when a person becomes spiritually wise, discipline is based on consciousness, on Viveka Shakti. Those who understand this are near, those who do not understand are far. Therefore, in my thought, word, and deed, let me come into inaction. We have studied this in Tripti Deepa. Atmanam ched vijaniyat ayam asmiti purusha kim ichan kasya kamaya shariram anusamjvared. The more you understand this particular verse, you will realize that there is nothing to do, there is nowhere to go. This verse is the seed for the entire 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Jnana Karma Sannyasa. The Bhagavad Gita ends, the teaching shloka is the Charama shloka, verse 66. It goes like this: Sarva dharman parityagya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma suchaha. In the next 2 lines, Lord Krishna says, I will wipe out your sanchita karma. Your whole karmic data is gone. I will ensure that you get moksha, that you get parama purushartha. Don't be sorrowful. What is that we have to do? Sarva dharman parityagya. Adi Shankara said, we cannot give up dharma. And he says, dharma and karma are one and the same. So therefore, give up all karma. We can't give up karma. Krishna himself says, you cannot give up karma even for a second. Give up all sense of doership. Let things happen. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Ekam means identify with the Atma, the one with you. And this is the subtle meaning of this great verse. Our next verse will be explained to us by Dr. Anupama. Dr. Anupama, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 53. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadhau achala buddhisthada yogyam avapsyasi. This is the essence of Jnana Yoga. Shruti vipratipanna means a person who is confused about the purpose of the Vedas. What is the solution? It is the understanding that my peace lies not in solving my worldly problems, but in being Atmanishta despite all problems. Vipratipanna means scattered or confused. Aneka sadhana sambandha, meaning many rituals to achieve many goals. Here, Shruti means Shravanam of these various rituals from various sources. So, what is the result? One forgets that religion is meant for Nitya Naimittika karma and not Kamya or Prayaschita karmas. Te yada sthasyati means tava buddhi, your confused intellect. Yada sthasyati, the mind abides in Shravana Manana Nidithyasana, meaning when the mind is diverted from Kamya and Prayaschita karmas, then only Nitya Naimittika karmas would remain, and gradually they also reduce. So, what happens next? Krishna says, Samadhau stasyati. By dropping Kamya and Prayaschita karma, one abides in Samadhi. Here, Samadhi means Atma. When the mind abides in Atma, despite raging problems, one remains unshaken, achala, nischala. Why does Krishna repeat? We know that knowledge is shaken by two problems. First, samshaya pratibandha. This is a doubt, intellectual problem. Achala means samshaya rahitam. The second is viparyaya pratibandha. This is a habitual or emotional problems. Nischala means viparyaya rahitam. Now, this quietened mind becomes achala nischala. Nischala is vikshepa chalana varjita, without viparita bhavana, without atma-centered disturbances. The result is samadhau bhavishyati, sthiri bhuta bhavishyati. How is this so? Because samadhiyate chittanasmin, the mind abides in atma. Then what is achala? Now this viparyaya rajita or nischala mind should also be vikalpa rajita or achala. So vikalpa means samshaya, intellectual problem or doubt. How do we get rid of this? By mananam. Tada buddhi yogam avapsyasi. Here buddhi means antakaranam or mind. So when the mind abides in atma without doubt and habitual worry, yogam avapsyasi. Yogam here means samadhim, viveka prajnam or sthita prajnam. Avapsyasi means prapsyasi. You will attain. Here we see three meanings for the word samadhi. This is apart from the popular meaning of nirvikalpa samadhi of Yoga Shastra. In verse 44, Vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhau na vidhiyate. Samadhi means antakarana or mind. In this verse 53, samadhau achala. Here samadhi means atma and yogam avapsyasi. Here yogam means samadhi and this samadhi means sthira prajna or firm wisdom. So how does one become a sthita prajna? Through Shravana, he gains knowledge. By Manana, Samshaya Pratibandha is removed and Nidityasanam removes Viparyaya Pratibandha. This triggers an intense curiosity in Arjuna. He wonders what the appearance or the apparently evident features of this Sthita Prajna would be. Would his personality as a worldly active person be different from what he inwardly perceives himself to be? Krishna then goes on to deliver the most profound verses in the Gita which describe the Sthita Prajna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for another wonderful explanation of this verse. Two key takeaways to be able to shift from ignorance to knowledge. I have Brahma Vidya, but I'm not established in it. And the two obstacles are Samshaya and Viparita Bhavana. And as explained by Dr. Anupama, Samshaya is removed by Mananam and Viparita Bhavana is removed by Nidityasanam. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Friends, while thanking all those who have sent in their generous contributions to our collective Guru Dakshina, to be offered to our Paramagurus on the occasion of Gita Jayanti, I take this opportunity to request one and all to update the Google Forms. The details submitted will help us account your contribution properly and to issue a receipt appropriately. This being an opportunity for us to submit our reverential offerings at the lotus feet of our gurus. If you'd still desire anybody who has not contributed to join this collective Guru Dakshina as Guru Seva, you are requested to send your generous offering to the bank details of which are displayed on the screen. I suggest you take a picture of the screen for your reference. Details of collection and offering to our Param Gurus shall be communicated during our online satsang. Friends, there is no compulsion of any nature. Your wish to contribute is purely voluntary. Rest assured that the entire amount thus collected will reach the lotus feet of our Gurus. On behalf of Param Vedanta, I would like to express a hearty thanks to all the participants who have joined us for today's session. Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir and all speakers for their enlightening presentations. Continuing our study of Kathopanishad, we shall be back with our 9th session with verses 11 to 15 of Prathama Adhyaya Dvitiya Valli to be premiered on 5th of January 2024. Remember to join us on time and benefit from the enlightening knowledge of Kathopanishad. This brings us to an end of today's program. Let us conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Krishna